Ibrahim Traoré, born in 1988, hails from the humble town of Kira in Burkina Faso. This small-town boy had bigger dreams. Traoré pursued higher education at the University of Ouagadougou, his chosen field of study geology, the study of the Earth's composition. Little did he know, his path would lead him to reshape the very ground he walked on, not as a geologist, but as the leader of his nation. Traoré's journey took a turn in 2009, when he enlisted in the Burkina Faso army. He quickly rose through the ranks, showcasing his dedication and strategic prowess. He even served in a UN peacekeeping mission in Mali, gaining valuable experience in conflict resolution, or so we thought. By 2020, Traoré had achieved the rank of captain. This military experience would prove crucial in his rise to power. It was within the military ranks that his discontent with the existing political order brewed. Traoré's early life reveals a man of dualities, a scholar interested in the Earth's foundations, and a soldier prepared to shake the foundations of his nation. His transformation from a geology student to a military captain foreshadowed the seismic shift he would bring to Burkina Faso's political landscape. Burkina Faso, plagued by a long history of political instability and a growing jihadist insurgency, was a powder keg waiting to explode. The nation had already witnessed a coup in January 2022, bringing Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba to power. However, Damiba's rule proved ineffective in quelling the violence. Discontent within the military grew, with Captain Ibrahim Traoré emerging as a vocal critic. He believed Damiba wasn't doing enough to combat terrorism. On September 30, 2022, Traoré, at the young age of 34, seized control of the country. The coup, dubbed the September Revolution, toppled Damiba's government. Traoré accused Damiba of failing to address the deteriorating security situation. Traoré's swift and decisive action sent shockwaves throughout the nation and the international community. This young captain, once focused on studying the Earth's layers, had now become the youngest head of state in the world, tasked with navigating the complex and volatile landscape of Burkinabe politics. Upon assuming leadership, Traoré wasted no time in outlining his vision for Burkina Faso. Central to his ideology was a staunch anti-imperialist stance, particularly against France, the former colonial power. He accused France of neo-colonialism, exploiting Burkina Faso's resources and meddling in its internal affairs. Traoré's rhetoric resonated with many Burkinabe, who harbored resentment over France's continued influence. He tapped into a deep-seated desire for true independence and self-determination. This shift in foreign policy had significant implications. Traoré turned towards Russia, viewing it as a more reliable partner in the fight against terrorism. This move, while welcomed by some, raised concerns about Russian influence in the region. Traoré's ideological shift marked a turning point in Burkina Faso's history, challenging the existing world order and seeking new alliances to secure the nation's future. Traoré's emphasis on national sovereignty extended beyond foreign policy. He championed the idea of self-reliance, urging Burkina Faso to reduce its dependence on foreign aid and cultivate its own resources. He believed that true independence stemmed from economic empowerment. One of Traoré's key initiatives was boosting local agriculture. He recognized Burkina Faso's potential for agricultural development and saw it as a path towards self-sufficiency. He implemented policies to support local farmers, encouraging them to increase production and reduce reliance on food imports. Traoré's economic policies, while still in their early stages, reflect his vision of a Burkina Faso that stands on its own 2 feet. He aims to break free from the shackles of dependency and chart a new course towards sustainable development and prosperity for his people. Section 5. A tight grip on power controversies and authoritarianism. While Traoré's rise to power was met with hope by some, it also sparked concerns about his leadership style. Critics accused him of authoritarianism, pointing to his consolidation of power and crackdown on dissent. Traoré's government faced accusations of human rights violations. One of the main points of contention was the delay of elections. Traoré, who initially promised a return to democratic rule, postponed the elections, citing the ongoing security crisis. This move was seen by many as a power grab, an attempt to cling to power indefinitely. Furthermore, Traoré's government was criticized for its handling of the press and political opposition. Reports of censorship, intimidation of journalists, and arbitrary arrests of opposition figures raised alarm bells about the state of freedom of expression in Burkina Faso under his rule. Section 6. A Nation Under Siege, the Escalating Security Crisis. Despite Traoré's promises to prioritize security, Burkina Faso witnessed a surge in violence following his takeover. The jihadist insurgency, which had plagued the country for years, intensified, spreading to new areas and claiming more lives. The security situation deteriorated at an alarming rate, with attacks becoming more frequent and deadly. Armed groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda and ISIS wreaked havoc, targeting civilians, security forces, and infrastructure. The violence displaced millions, creating a humanitarian crisis. Traoré's decision to seek support from Russia, including the alleged deployment of the Wagner Group, a private military company, sparked controversy. While the effectiveness of these mercenaries remains debated, their presence further complicated the situation, raising concerns about human rights abuses and fueling instability. Section 7. A Humanitarian Catastrophe, Displacement, and Suffering. The escalating violence in Burkina Faso had a devastating impact on the civilian population. Millions were forced to flee their homes, seeking refuge in safer areas within the country or across borders. The United Nations estimated that over 2 million people were internally displaced, with the number continuing to rise. The humanitarian crisis reached catastrophic proportions. Displacement camps overflowed, struggling to provide basic necessities like food, water, shelter, and healthcare to the growing number of displaced persons. The situation was particularly dire for children, who faced malnutrition, lack of education, and the trauma of violence. International aid organizations struggled to meet the overwhelming needs, hampered by insecurity and a lack of funding. The humanitarian crisis in Burkina Faso became a forgotten crisis, overshadowed by other conflicts and emergencies around the world. Section 8. Shifting Alliances. From Paris to Moscow, a new dawn. Traoré's decision to pivot away from France and embrace Russia represented a significant shift in Burkina Faso's foreign policy. This move was driven by a number of factors, including his anti-imperialist ideology, disillusionment with France's role in the region, and the perceived effectiveness of Russia's counter-terrorism strategies. The arrival of Russian mercenaries, believed to be from the Wagner Group, sparked debate. While some welcomed their presence as a necessary measure to combat terrorism, others expressed concerns about their human rights record and the potential for exacerbating violence. The implications of this alliance shift extended beyond Burkina Faso, sending ripples throughout the Sahel region. It reflected a growing trend of African nations seeking alternative partners in their pursuit of security and development, challenging the traditional dominance of former colonial powers. Section 9. A Divided Nation, Public Opinion, and the Path Forward. Ibrahim Traoré remains a polarizing figure in Burkina Faso. His supporters view him as a strong leader who is not afraid to challenge the status quo and fight for the country's sovereignty. They applaud his efforts to combat terrorism, promote self-reliance, and stand up to foreign interference. However, Traoré's critics argue that his authoritarian tendencies and crackdown on dissent are eroding democratic values and undermining human rights. They point to the delayed elections, censorship, and repression of opposition as evidence of his government's slide towards authoritarianism. The future of Burkina Faso under Traoré's leadership remains uncertain. The country faces immense challenges, including a persistent jihadist insurgency, a dire humanitarian crisis, and deep political divisions. Whether Traoré can unite the nation, restore stability, and deliver on his promises of a better future for Burkina Faso remains to be seen. Only time will tell if he will be remembered as a liberator or a dictator.